Goddamn dreamers.
Jonestown is so beautiful to me. Jonestown is so beautiful to me. Yes, I see. It's everything I'd ever hope for, and it's everything to me. Jonestown is so beautiful, I just want to clap my hands. Guyana is so beautiful, I want to clap my hands. Guyana is so beautiful. One more time, one more time.
The house I live in, these bars of steel, they're designed to break my spirit and destroy my mind. But they only serve to make me stronger and more determined to defeat my enemy. The ruling fascist elite has ruled me a political prisoner and has thrown me amongst the ranks of the forgotten, expecting never to hear from me again. But being here only gives me more time to plan my next move. Inside these walls, there's a whole different kind of world. A world where power is absolute, and the actions of the pigs that run this place are never questioned. No one on the outside could ever imagine the mass genocide of our people that goes on in here.
Attention, attention. Transmissions from Jonestown Season 2 will not broadcast until November 2020.
The Attention Span Recovery Project appreciates your continued loyalty and patience while we endeavor to uncover the truth behind what happened in Jonestown and expand our understanding of People's Temple. I thought I was done after producing the first season of the show. I immersed myself in People's Temple research for 3 years, studying the FBI files, listening to tapes, and digging up every rabbit hole. I laid out a timeline, painted a colorful picture of Jim Jones, and told the story from an objective angle. When it came to conspiracy theories, I left no stone unturned. As I completed the project, I had one regret. I had never interviewed or even spoken to an ex-member of the temple, or anyone who actually lived in Jonestown. It didn't take long for me to realize that even with my exhaustive research and analysis of available evidence, the story was not yet complete. As I reached out to ex-members and survivors, I quickly became overwhelmed by the sheer number of people willing to share their experiences and insights with me. If you're listening to this, you've likely been listening from the beginning of this strange and incredible journey. I assure you that the second season is in development and will be completed by November 2020.
How many in this assembly feel this by saying there's about 1,000 people? How many here feel it by the sounding of a yay?
41 years ago tonight, the people of Jonestown died in a tragedy that was, at the time, the largest loss of American civilian life caused by a deliberate act. That morbid record stood until September 11, 2001, when 2,996 people were killed in the 9/11 attacks in New York. When the people of Jonestown died, their bodies remained where they fell for 4 days. Sprayed with pesticides and crowded into military body bags, the remains of Jonestown's dead were shipped to Dover Air Force Base for processing. Advanced states of decomposition hindered the military's attempts to identify the corpses. Children made up a large percentage of the remains that were found last and were the most difficult to identify. Chillingly, the military economized by filling body bags with several small bodies, later creating an impossible mess for pathologists. In some cases, the bags weren't opened until many months later, as Dover was experiencing a backlog of corpses. In the end, 593 people were identified, leaving 320 bodies, mostly those of children, unidentified. As families arranged to recover their loved ones, 409 bodies were left unclaimed. Finding a resting place for the unclaimed victims of Jonestown was problematic. Cemeteries were concerned about affiliations with the temple, afraid that the gravesite would become a tourist attraction, or even worse, a meeting place for remaining cult members. Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland, California became the final resting place for the unclaimed victims of Jonestown. The Jonestown Memorial sits on a man-made hill. The terrain of the cemetery had to be altered to accommodate the size of the grave. For 32 years, a small, understated memorial to the victims of Jonestown marked the spot where family members and survivors came to grieve and memorialize their loved ones. Over the years, it didn't seem to matter who was buried at Evergreen Cemetery. The site became a place for sharing, healing, and catharsis for all those touched by the temple in Jonestown. In 2011, 4 large granite slabs were placed on top of the hill in Evergreen Cemetery. Carved into the rock are the names of everyone who died in Jonestown, including those who died in Georgetown and Port Kaituma. Somewhere on the bottom line, so identical to all of the other names you have to really look for it, is engraved the name James Warren Jones. Some have compared this to putting Hitler's name on a Holocaust monument. Others have argued that he died with the rest and was a large part of the whole, thereby earning his place. Either way, the site at Evergreen Cemetery has given those who were touched by this story a place to come together and express their grief and remember their joy. Despite Jim Jones' attempts to alienate and segregate his people from perceived enemies, everyone now has a place to publicly grieve together. After the 9/11 attacks, the United States honored the victims by reading aloud the names of those killed in the attack. Tonight, I will read the names of those who died in Jonestown, Georgetown, and Port Kaituma on November 18, 1978. Although attempts have been made over the years to identify everyone, there are still names missing from this list. Stephen Michael Addison, Ida Marie Albuddy, Lillian Boyd Alexander, Krista Amos, Leanne Harris, Linda Sharon Amos, Martin Lawrence Amos, Jerome Dwayne Anderson, Marcus Anthony Anderson, Maurice St. Martin Anderson, Aurelia Anderson, Richard L. Smith Anderson, Samuel Moses Anderson, Chantrell Akpon Anderson, Tommy Lee Anderson, Luberta Bertie Arnold, Clarence Arterberry, Linda Teresa Arterberry, Ricardo David Arterberry, Tratis Lynette Arterberry, Lydia Atkins, Ruth Atkins, Viola Elaine Backman, Monique Bacon, Geraldine Harriet Bailey, James Samuel Jr. Basie, Jerry Basie, John Desi Basie, Keisha Basie, Shirley Mae Basie, Saburi Jamal Basie, Trinidad Basie, Wanda Basie, Eric Tyrone Baker, Jair Alexander Baker, Sean Valgan Baker, Tarek Earl Baker, Mary B. Baldwin, Rory Levette Bargeman, Terrence Bargeman, Becky Ann Barrett, Ben Franklin Barrett, Kathy Ann Barrett, Jack Darlington Barron, Christine Ella Mae Bates, Geneva Maddie Beal, Eleanor Marie Beam, Jack Lovell Beam, Joseph Leo Beam, Ravina Beam, Daniel James Beck, Rebecca Mae Bikeman, Ronald Lamont Bikeman, Alfred Bell, Beatrice Claudine Bell, Carlos Lee Jr. Bell, Elsie Ingram Bell, Ethel Matilda Bell, Lena Mae Mary Camp Benton, Yolanda Patrice Berkeley, Dana Berry, Daniel Bernard Berry, Ronnie Dwayne Berryman, James Arthur Bishop, Mary Love Black, Odell Blackwell, Ernestine Hines Blair, Noriah Blair, Phyllis Chaikin, Marilee Faith Bogue, Salika Glorden Bordenave, Claudia Bouquet, Pierre Brian Bouquet, Corliss Denise Boyd, Mark Anthony Boyd, Donald Robert Bauer, Christine Shannon Bowers, Kenneth Bernard Bowie, Anthony Bauman, Edna Mae Bauman, Regina Michelle Bowser, Pamela Gale Bradshaw, Dorothy Brady, Georgianne Patricia Brady, Micheline Patricia Brady, Michelle Margaret Brady, Nahawanda Brandon, Avis Jocelyn Breidenbach, Lois Fontaine Breidenbach, Melanie Lee Breidenbach, Rocky Breidenbach, Wesley Clark Breidenbach, Dorothy Ann Brewer, Kimberly Louise Brewster, Miller Bridgewater, Donna Louise Briggs, Babao Bright, Juanita Jean Bright, Lawrence George Bright, Ruby Jean Bright, Amanda Denise Brown, Ava Fanice Brown, Jaros Keith Brown, Jocelyn Carter, John Moss Jr. Brown Jones, Joyce Marie Brown, Luella Holmes Brown, Robert Brown Jr., Robert Q. Brown, Rouletta Brown, Yolanda Delane Brown, Lucios Bryant, Christopher Calvin Buckley, Dorothy Helen Buckley, Frances Elizabeth Buckley, Dorothy Helen Buckley, Loriatha Buckley, Minnie Luna Mae Merle Buckley, Odessa Buckley, Rosie Bergens, William Paul Sean Bush, Betty Jean Guy, Ruthie Mae Kane, Bianca Renee Cameron, Lena Mae Camp Benton, Ronald Ray Jr. Campbell, Mary Frances Canada, Thelma Doris Maddie Cannon, Vides Rochelle Cannon, Jeffrey James Carey, Karen Yvette Carr, D'Artagnan Angelina Carroll, Dante Augustin III Carroll, Michelle Carroll, Carol Mercer, Randall Earl Carroll, Rondell Jerome Carroll, Ruby Jewel Carroll, Rangel Dwayne Smith Carroll, Gloria Maria Carter, Jocelyn Carter, Kawana Mae Carter, Malcolm Carter, Mary Teresa Carter, Maurice Shante Carter, Patricia Ann Cartmel, Patricia Pauline Cartmel, Tyrone James Cartmel, Walter Clayton Cartmel, Angelique Marie Casanova, Sophia Loren Casanova, Mary Frances Castillo, William Richard Castillo, Stephanie Katrina Chaikin, David Lee Chaikin, Eugene Bernard Chaikin, Jossie Evelyn Chambliss, Loretta Diane Chavis, Robert Louis Christian, Robert Louis Christian II, Tina Ryette Christian, Vernetta Carolyn Christian, Mary Lois Clancy, Joycey Ellis Clark, Nancy Clay, Ida Mae Pleasant Clips, Ava Fenice Cobb, Brenda Carol Cobb, Christine Cobb, Darlene Elizabeth Ramey, Eloise Christine Cobb, Joel Raymond Cobb, Mona Cobb, Sandra Cobb, Sharon Rose Cobb, Arlander Cole, Arvella Cole, Clarence Cole, Matthew Todd Cole, William Arnold Cole, Mary Coleman, Susie Lee Collins, Inez Strickland Conady, Corliss Denise Conley, Angela Maria Conacero, Bertha Pearl Cook, Mary Ella Cook, Loretta Coomer, Carol Cordell, Chris Mark Cordell, Cindy Lynn Cordell, Edith Excel Cordell, James Joseph Cordell, Jamil Regina Lawrence, Julie Cordell, Loretta Mae Cordell, Mabel Joy Cordell, Natasha Lana Cordell, Richard Williams Jr. Cordell, Rita Diane Cordell, Teresa Laverne Cordell, Carrie Lee Corey, Ricky Anthony Corey, Trinidad Connor, Mary Wade Cottingham, Tanya Rena Cox, Eddie James Crenshaw, Lucy Crenshaw, Tiquan Ramon Crenshaw, Millie Stern Cunningham, Betty Leon Daniel, Steve Nathaniel Daniel, Michael Daniels, Mary C. Darden, Bronchansky Darns, Ellen Wanyan Darns, Naja Darns, Nuwanda Darns, Ollie Darns, Circe Darns, Velma Lee Darns, Hazel Frances Dashiell, Barbara Marie Davis, Bippy Davis, Brian Andrew Davis, Celeste Marie Davis, Cynthia Marie Davis, Frances Bernadette Davis, Garina Maxine Davis, Joanna Danielle Davis, Lexi Smith Davis, Margarita Virginia Davis, Michelle Renee Davis, Robert Edwin Davis, Beatrice Dawkins, Lovey Hattie Ann DePina, Berger Lee Dean, Tammy Sherelle Delhase, Carol Dennis, Eddie Lee Dennis, Elihu Dennis, Gabriel Dennis, Leandra Dennis, Ord Dennis, Patty Ann McCoy, Ronnie Dennis, Rosanna Dickerson, Bessie Lee Dixon, Violat Esther Dillard, Catherine Martha Domneck, Farine Douglas, Joyce Lalard Douglas, Vicki Lynn Dover, Nina Bell Downs, Exia Marie Duckett, Ronald Charles Duckett, Corey Duncan, Ebony Patrice Duncan, Sanjay Regina Duncan, Verdella Duncan, Viola Duncan, Ellen Louise Kearns DuPont, Florine Dyson, Irene Edens, Irene Edwards, Isaac Jr. Edwards, Zippora Edwards, Erin Jana Eichler, Evelyn Marie Eichler, Letitia Marie Eichler, Ever Rejoicing, Tanetra Fain, Barbara Louise Farrell, Donald James Fields, Lori Beth Fields, Mark Evan Fields, Shirley Ann Fields, Casey Nakia Finney, Danielle Fitch, Donald Kirk Fitch, Maureen Cynthia Fitch, Michelle Renee Fitch, Raymond Xavier Fitch, Rebecca Ann Flowers, Toy Vonsell, James E. Ford, George Forks, Rhonda Denise Fortson, Beulah Foster, Frankie J. Fontaine, Jewel Lynn Fontaine, Christopher Darnell Franklin, Lakita Franklin, Robert Eddie Lee Jr. Franklin, Constance Janet Frome, Kimberly Ann Fye, Boff William Galley, Avis Garcia, Cleveland Desmond Garcia, Mary Helen Garcia, Susan Garcia, Tanya Renee Cox Garcia, Tiffany Latrice Garcia, Gardner John Wayne Lawrence, Danielle Gardfrey, Dominique Gardfrey, Kenneth Darren Gardfrey, Herman Gee, Jason Geeg, Robert Geeg, Shirley Geeg, Jerry Gilbert Smith, Betty Jean Hill, Irma Lee Hill, Viola Mae Godshock, Wanda Denise Gomez, David Lee Goodwin, Mark Hartley Gosney, Catherine Denise Groman, Anitra Rochelle Green, Amando Griffith, Camellia Griffith, Emmett Alexander Jr. Griffith, Emmett Alexander Griffith, Gloria Griffith, Marion Louise Griffith, Frankie Lee Grigsby, Ronald Windus Grimm, Sue L. Grimm, Tina Lynn Grimm, Barbara Grisette, Yolanda Grisette, Pauline Groot, Clark Andrew Grubbs, Richard Grubbs, Kelly Grubbs, Kevin Grubbs, Tom Grubbs, Sylvia Grubbs, Patricia Grunette, Mercedes Goodry, Jan Gervich, Brian Guy, Cody Guy, Sharita Renee Guy, Thurman Guy, Carl Gloucester Hall, Heloise Janice Hall, Shanteri Hall, Eddie James Hallman, Tiquan Ramon Hallman, Karen Marie Harms, Don Harris, John Harris, Nevada Harris, Michael Heath, Joseph Hella, Charles Henderson, Kenya Henderson, Nina Davidson Herring, Shirley Hicks, Emma May Hill, Burnell Hines, Mabel Ellen Walker Hines, Patricia Ann Holly, Tanai Claudine Holliday, Pete Holmes Jr., Patricia Houston, Phyllis Houston, Exia Marie Howard, Barbara Faye Hoyer, Rose Hunter, Anita Imes, Judith K. Imes, Maya Lisa Imes, Alice Lorraine Ingram, Beatrice Jackson, Clarence Jackson, Corrine Jackson, Donald Francis Jackson, Ebony Jackson, Gladys Margaret Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, Catherine Denise Jackson, Letitia Lynn Jackson, Laurice Jackson, Lavinia Jackson, Paulette Jackson, Rennie Jackson, Rosalie Jackson, Thelma Jackson, Ronald James, Shonda James, Tony Denise James, Marvin Gennaro, Maury K. Gennaro, Erdis Jeffrey, Margaret Jeffrey, Debbie Jensen, Tadsy Jensen, Susan Jane Joram, Bessie Marie Jance Johnson, Betty Jean Guy Bird Johnson, Karma Lisa Johnson, Cody Johnson, Derek Damone Johnson, Deshaun Johnson, Gary Johnson, Glenniel Johnson, Helen Johnson, Ira Jean, James Douglas Johnson, Jessie Ann Johnson, Joe Jr. Johnson, Koya Johnson, Mahaley Johnson, Maisha Johnson, Mary Allie Johnson, Mary E. Johnson, Naomi Esther Johnson, Patsy Ruth Johnson, Poncho Johnson, Richard Lee Johnson, Ruby Johnson, Celicia Johnson, Samuel Lee Johnson, Shantiki Johnson, Tinetra Johnson, Verna Lisa Johnson, Agnes Pauline Jones, Annette Teresa Jones, Ava Fenice Jones, Cheoke Warren Jones, Forrest Ray Jones, James Arthur Jones, James Warren Jones, Jesse Wiana Jones, James Arthur Jones, Kwame Ruamarka Jones, Larry Darnell Jones, Lerna Vershawn Jones, Marcelin May Baldwin, Marshall Jacole Jones, Mary Teresa Jones, Michael Ray Jones, Muniel Jones, Nancy Mae Jones, Sandra Yvette Cobb Jones, Valerie Jones, Fanny Alberta Jordan, Emma Jane Gerardo, Maria Katsaris, Rosa Lorenda Keaton, Tommy Shepard Keaton, Elaine Rosalind Keeler, Daryl Eugene Keeler, Anita Christine Kelly, Melanie Denise Kemp, Rochelle Arnett Kemp, Afrida Kendall, Emma Addie Kennedy, Carol Ann Kearns, Ellen Kearns, Penny Kearns, Corinne May Keiss, Yoon I Kim, Teresa King, Wanda King, Sharon Jean Kislingbury, April Heather Klingman, Clarence and Elmer Klingman, Martha Ellen Klingman, Matthew Todd Klingman, William Arnold Klingman, James Douglas Knox, Demosthenes Catulus, Edith Catulus, Donna Louise Lacey, Tony Linton Lacey, Ramona Lamoth, Pearl Land, Judy K. Lang, Marianita Langston, Aaron Lawrence, Jamil Lawrence, Marie Lawrence, Nikki Lawrence, Carolyn Moore Layton, Karen Lee Toe Layton, Chemo Layton, Lisa Phillip Layton, Karen Marie Lendo, Janet Marie Tupper, Elizabeth Tupper, Tish Leroy, Dana Mitchell Lewis, Doris Jane Lewis, Tommy Linton, Tony Linton, Jerry Livingston, Carolyn Lumen, Love Life Low, Love Magdalene Joy, Heavenly Love, Mary Love Black, Christine Lucientes, Chris Lund, Diane Lundquist, Don Mario Lundquist, Dorothy Williams Macon, Rory Madden, Lillian Malloy, Willie Malone, Alfred March, Alfreda March, Anita March, Ernestine March, Charles Marshall, Danny Marshall, Shantae Marshall, Vicki Lynn Marshall, Bessie Martin, Diane Mason, Irene Mason, Cheryl Darnell McCall, Donald Wayne McCall, Estelle Dunn McCall, B. McCann, Danny McCann, Eileen Kelly McCann, Maria Louise McCann, Michael Angelo McCann, Allie McLean, Carol Ann Cordell McCoy, Leandra Renee McCoy, Lowell Francis, Markenda McCoy, Patty Ann McCoy, James Nelson McIlvain, Alavine McGowan, Clara McKenzie, Luvatus McInnes, Diane McKnight, Raymond McKnight, Rosemarie McKnight, Eileen McMurray, Sebastian McMurray, Takia-chan McMurray, Theodore McMurray, Henry Mercer, Mildred Mercer, Christine Miller, Lucy Jane Miller, Cassandra Yvette Minor, Kuyana Minor, Beverly Ann Mitchell, Beverly Darlene Mitchell, LaWanda Mitchell, Anne Elizabeth Moore, Betty Karen Moore, Billy Moore, Clarence Edward Jr. Moore, Edward Moore, Lydia Morgan, Oliver Morgan, Vicki Morton, Deanna Moten, Michael Moten, Pamela Moten, Russell Moten, Esther Lillian Mueller, Yvette Muldrow, Leela Murphy, Mary Murphy, Deetra Murray, Jane Ellen Mushman, Mildred Mercer, Henry Mercer, Gertrude Naylor, Cardell Neal, Mary Lee Neal, Enola Nelson, Alan Newell, Christopher Newell, Hazel Newell, Darlene Newman, Kenya Newman, Lonnie Newman, Luigi Newman, Benjamin Newsom, Ida Mae Nichols, Claudia Jo Norris, Placards Norris, Ken Norton, Fairy Lee Norwood, Susan Noxon, Winnie Ann O'Brien, Benjamin O'Neill, Bruce Howard Oliver, Shanda Michelle Oliver, William Sheldon Oliver, Georgia Bell Owens, Michael Owens, Rhonda Page, Beatrice Parker, Bethany Shawnee Parker, Cheryl Darnell Parker, Gloria Parker, J. Warren Parks, Patricia Louise Parks, Thomas Partak, Carol Patterson, Robert Paul, Rouletta Paul, Lucille Paney, Irvin Ray Perkins, Lenora Martin Perkins, Marcus Perkins, Maurice Perkins, Maud Esther Perkins, Pinky Perkins, Richard Perkins, Rosalie Peterson, George Edward Phillips, Linda Pierce, Amanda Poindexter, Joyce Polk, Marlon Porter, Jim John Prokes, Eva Hazel Pugh, James Robert Pugh, Denise Parafoy, Cynthia Pursley, Noraya Quinn, Ruthie Mae Quinn, Estella Mae Rallback, Darlene Ramey, Harriet Randolph, Marie Rankin, Kenneth Bernard Reed, Asha Ray, Patricia Ann Ray, Gladys Roberts, Greg Robinson, Leozie Robinson, Orlando Robinson, Mary Johnson Rogers, Gloria Rodriguez, Lisa Ann Rodriguez, Edith Francis Roller, Dorothy Jean Rollins, Margarita Romano, Gloria Rosa, Kamari Rosa, Margarita Yvette Romano, Thelma Ross, Christian Rosinko, Judy Runnels, Julie Runnels, Leo Joseph Ryan, Linda Sadler, David Anthony Sanders, Dorothy Jean Sanders, Douglas Sanders, Fiora Bell, Alida Rosa Santiago, Lawrence Eugene Schacht, Angelique Sheed, Sophia Sheed, Deborah Schroeder, Tad Schroeder, Pauline Scott, Marvin Sellers, Rose Sharon, Rose Jeanette Shelton, Penny Silver, Aisha Simon, Alvin Harold Jr. Simon, Alvin Harold Sr. Simon, Anthony Joseph Simon, Bonnie Jean Simon, Crystal Michelle Simon, Jose Simon, Melanie Wanda Simon, Pauline Louise Simon, Summer Renee Simon, Zatis Simon, Nancy Virginia Signs, Ronald Bruce Signs, Donald Edward Sly, Mark Andrew Sly, Sylvia Sly, Alfred Smart, Scott Smart, Terry Smart, Barbara Ann Smith, Bertha Charles Smith, Clark Andrew Smith, David Elbert Smith, Deetra Smith, Gladys Smith, Jeffrey Dale Smith, Jerry Gilbert Smith, Kelly Franklin Smith, Kevin Deanne Smith, Martin Luther Smith, Michael Vale Smith, Ollie Marie Smith, Shirley Faye Smith, Stephanie Marie Smith, Yolanda Smith, Clevie Sneed, Willie Sneed, Helen Snell, Skyria Solomon, Wanda Souter, Yolanda Souter, Carol Ann Stahl, Kathy Ann Stahl, Judy Stahl, Mary Stahl, Jim Stalin, Yvonne Stanley, Abraham Lincoln Staton, Emil Staton, Francis Lee Stevenson, Aurora Mae Stewart, Terry Frederick Jr. Stewart, John Victor Stowen, Sharon Lee Stone, Tobiana Stone, Tracy Lamont Stone, Adeline May Strider, Sharon Rose Swaney, Stephanie K. Swaney, Darren Eugene Swinney, Joyce Swinney, Christine Talley, Maureen Talley, Ronald Talley, Vera Talley, Amelia Tardy, Burnell Tardy, Elliot Tardy, Darius Tarver, Marlene Tarver, Lillian Taylor, Lucille Taylor, Virginia Taylor, Alma Thomas, Bernice Thomas, Carolyn Ann Thomas, Ernest Thomas, Evelyn Thomas, Lavon Chanel Thomas, Will Eater Thomas, Samuel Lee Thompson, Camille Tom, Albert Touche, Carol Joyce Touche, Michelle Elaine Touche, Neil Sean Touche, Karen Toe, Essie Mae Towns, Harriet Sarah Tropp, Richard David Tropp, Cornelius Lee Truss, Dana Truss, Alfred Cheddar, Betty Jean Cheddar, Maurice Alice Cheddar, Janet Tupper, Larry Howard Tupper, Mary Elizabeth Tupper, Rita Jeanette Tupper, Ruth Ann Tupper, James Elmore Turner, Shantrea Turner, Rocky Turner, Roosevelt Turner, Ceola Williams Turner, Celeste Vento, Rose Marie Bizane, Lily Mae Victor, James Wade, Keith Wade, Roberta Wade, Terrence Wade, Inez Winnette Wagner, Mark Stacy Wagner, Michelle Wagner, Barbara Walker, Derek Walker, Gloria Walker, Jerica Walker, Nuwanda Walker, Tony Walker, Gloria Warren, Grover Washington, Hulda Washington, Aaron Leroy Watkins, Gregory Watkins, William Watkins, Olar Watts, Neil Welcome, Darren Werner, Darius Wheeler, Bessie Mae Wessler, Wanda Werner, Jeff Wheeler, Marlene Wheeler, Ollie Marie Weideman, Kennard Joseph Jr. White, Cheryl White, Janela White, Kennard White, Lachey White, Nina White, Deanna Wilkinson, Diane Wilkinson, Charles Williams, Cyola Williams, Terenia Williams, Malika Willis, Mary Pearl Willis, Janice Wilsey, Jerry Wilson, Joseph Wilson, Shirley Wilson, Wanda Wilson, Irma Winfrey, Alizia Winston, Dorothy Worley, Mary Beth Witherspoon, Mary Witherspoon Jr., Peter Andrew Witherspoon, Arlissa Lavette Wright, Keith Arnold Wright, Leomi Wright, Stanley Glenn Wright, Eloise Christine Young, Nevada Young, Ramona Young, Greg Robinson, Don Harris, Lou Jones. End transmission.
Attention, attention, attention. Whether or not I come down for an activity does not mean that I'm not present. I have things that must be done for your sake, and it's very vital that you allow me uninterrupted time on my telephone. Please do not call the intercom unnecessarily. I do not have enough assistance. Do not have enough assistance. Do not have enough assistance.